In order to be able to trace back the transactions of blockchain, we need to use one of the established networks such as bitcoin.com or blockchain.com, in which you can see basically the history of transactions into on that particular public blockchain. And for this particular experiment, I decided to trace back this transaction, this being the starting wallet, and here by accessing bitcoin.com, I was able to find out the output of this transaction. And in order to go 5 steps as required, we would need to individually take that output, which becomes the new input, into the next step, and from that point on we can verify what its output is. And as you can see here, the output is becoming the inputs of the next step, which is technically the previous step, and so on and so forth. What is important to mention here is that, as you can see during the third step, this particular input had 2 different outputs, which led to 2 different strings of that needed to be individually traced back in order to correctly assess the situation. And because of that, as you can see, the 2 outputs that were discovered in because of the 2 transactions in step 3 became the new inputs in the fourth step. And here it was determined that, for example, this particular transaction had only 1 input, and in the same way this transaction had only 1 input. But as again during the fifth step, we observed that the last output, who now became an input for this transaction, had 2 different outputs, whereas the other input had 3 different outputs.